Good evening and welcome to the Economic Development and Planning Committee meeting for July 14, 2025. First item on our agenda is public participation. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move into the approval of minutes. If you've had a chance to review those, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I have, and I'll make a motion to approve our minutes from our June the 9th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, those carry. We'll go ahead and move into economic development. Mr. Morris?
Thank you, Councilman. I wanted to first go over some of the developments that we've been working on over the past month. The first one being the Vance property updates. There has been some discussions and meetings with regards to those. If you look on the first page of the handout I just handed to you, it talks about what was under discussion and where we fell down in terms of the decisions that we were talking about. At least in order to make a recommendation to you at some point. Remember, what we're talking about is, we talked before about funding mechanisms, that's TIFs and different stuff, that's how you get the money, but this is what the money would be spent on, and the challenge for us is to determine which part of this development is benefiting just the city and what part just benefits the developer. The parts that are just benefiting the developer, they need to pay 100%. The parts that are just for the city and not for the development, the city should pay. And then there's stuff that we should split. And so that discussion is what this takes us through a little bit. I just wanted you to get a flavor for what types of things we're discussing and what we're talking about. So if you look at the first one is Smoke Rise Drive. If you remember, Smoke Rise Drive has been on our master plan since 1963 or so. We want that to go all the way through. Because that's going all the way through and we're not letting them build off of that, we're not letting them put, we're having a collector street instead of a development street. That's a city fund that is 100% would be eligible for TIF, which means it's a city improvement. If you get to the end of that, you've got a turn lane. So who's turn lane? Who benefits from the turn lane? We've had traffic engineers look at it. And the estimates from the traffic engineers, oddly enough, said about 50% of the people will use that as a cut through, and about 50% of the people will use that for this development once it's fully built out. Pretty easy numbers, so that would mean 50% of the cost of that is something that's an upgrade for the city. 50% would remain with the developer. The water line is the other big one. We talked a lot about how we were going to do the water lines, and one thing we had originally was a water line going all the way up Hartman and then turning into 261. That would be parallel to a water line that was going up that dotted line that you see on your paper there. We thought that didn't make a lot of sense. The reason you put it on the frontage or along the road is for development across the street, so they have somewhere to tap into. We're all familiar with that. There's large houses in the township being built now. I don't think that's going to be long for development in the future. It's probably, the Wadsworth is going to end right there on Hartman Road. So because we didn't need that water line, we could instead use the water line that they were going to put in anyway, and then just upsize it. So 8-inch water line is typically what they do. So we'll have them build that up to a 16-inch. 8-inch is what they need, 16 is what we want, so the upsizing would be eligible for city reimbursement or public reimbursement. So the other part of the water line, one of the more expensive parts, is going under the highway. They didn't need to go under the highway because they could have got it from the west. We want it as part of our master plan because this allows the looping, which will help the northern development, the commercial district. So that's something we want. So that's something that would be 100% reimbursable. The property itself, the underlying land, there are two parts of it. They didn't have to put that, if they didn't have Smoke Rise, they certainly could have put extra lots there. So that's something that we should reimburse them for the use of the land, but not at the developed number, not what a lot would go for. But just as the parts that are where the townhouses are, we had a lien or we had an easement already on there. So we shouldn't have to pay for that because there's nothing else that could be built there. So those were the discussions that we had, trying to figure out what that number is. So the original number of $6 million of improvements comes down to, if we use everything we want, if we decide everything on the menu, it takes it down to about $2.7 million. And going forward, the next step is to decide what engineering wants, what do they need, what do they don't need, so that what we decide they want, we'll put in and have them build it. They're better at building than we are. They're a cheaper builder. They don't have the problems with not problems, but they don't have prevailing wage requirements that we do. There's an economy of scale. If they're building a road anyway, they might as well put another line in. So that's where we are in the Vance property. I wanted to keep you informed and involved, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions you have on that.
So where are the conversations right now? What are next steps?
The next steps is determine, one, what of these do we really want? Do we want nothing? And we want no public improvements? Probably a bad idea, but we can decide that, and then we have to let them know we're not going to contribute anything, so change accordingly. Do we want all of it? Then we got to figure out how we're going to pay for all of it. Are we going to do it through we're cutting the check for the whole amount, or are we going to do a TIF, or are we going to do a different type of TIF? That's the finance part. We plan on coming to you with recommendations, not just leaving you out in the lurch, but giving you at least a couple of them to decide how you want to do it.
Timeline?
Timeline is, I got a meeting next Tuesday, so we'll, that time here next week, or next month, I
Okay.
want to have something for it in front of you.
Okay, any questions?
No.
Okay, Brickyard Brownfield Grant.
Yeah, we reported last month, the state of Ohio awarded $2.14 million to our Brickyard project. But as always, the devil is in the details, and we're working through those details. We weren't the recipient of that grant, rather the Medina County Port Authority was the recipient of that grant. Essentially, I created it and pushed it up to them to file it. Why? Because the way they're doing their grants now through the Ohio Department of Development, they only want one agency per county. They were getting a lot of people trying to do things that perhaps they weren't capable of doing. So they assigned one per county, and ours in particular was the Medina County Port Authority. So I am working with them. It's 100% reimbursable. There's 2.1 up until the $2.14 million. There's a requirement that we have 20% grant or 20% match, but that includes the purchase price, so we've already done that. So a lot of the money that we would make sure we're going to pay, we were going to pay anyway. So this is money to help clean up the Brickyard and to get us an NFA, no further action, which means the EPA is not going to come back on us at a later date and say, hey, there's some problems here. So that gives us coverage from that area. So what your role is going to be is eventually I'm going to come back to you with a sub-recipient agreement. This is the agreement between the Port Authority and the city, and we're going to look for authorization to enter into that. So we haven't got that yet because the Port Authority hasn't got the grant documents from the state of Ohio yet. Once they do, then I get the sub-recipient agreement. I'll get it over to you after I give some analysis as to what it looks like.
Okay.
So it's been awarded, it's just going through the chain.
It's been awarded, but the paperwork hasn't caught up with the award.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Next is sale of property for economic development.
Yeah, one of the first things we did,
Do you want us to make a
You want
motion?
us to do that first?
not the first one, there's
Okay.
three of them, and the
Okay.
first one we don't make the motion, the second two we would. There are three of them, or the first one that we're talking about isn't something that's covered by the exception to the open records. It's the map, the next map you see on there is, that's the parking lot that we've talked about. We've got a parking lot that is right over there off the alley behind the Lutheran church that's in disrepair as this time. So we did a little back of the envelope math. It takes around $15,000 to bring that into something that is an embarrassment. But we found that nobody uses that property. It's kind of just sitting there vacant and blighted. Now there's two things we can do when we have property that we decide we don't need anymore. We can sell it if we're just looking for top dollar, or we can try to figure out a way to use that or leverage that in for economic development. If you just sell it, all we do is we just auction it off. And when we do that, it can create situations that are actually the antithesis of development, because people will buy it on speculation and sit on it. They have no intention of spending that $15,000, $20,000 and fixing it. They just want to sit on and hold on to it until sometime in the future. That doesn't help us. I want to use that parcel as part of some economic development. To that end, we've contacted the neighboring property owners. They're all interested in acquiring that. How do we do that? We do that by assigning this as the CIC, the Community Improvement Corporation, as an agent of the council in order to sell the property, not going through the formal bidding process. But I think the bidding process is important if there's multiple people. But I want to put some conditions on it. One condition is that you actually do use it for economic development. Either you repave it or have a use for it within a certain period of time. I want it to have somebody who's local, who's a neighboring property, because I know they're going to use it, whether it be the church, whether it be Mr. Corwin's property, whoever purchases that, or Mr. Bill Beck's property, or someone around that uses it. We can do that through the CIC better and not have to go through the formal, just sell to whoever's got the highest bidder. So that's what's going on with that. I'm creating a auction type style to have written bids with some conditions that they have to fix it within a certain period of time. So I just wanted to give you a heads up as to that's what I'm looking to do. And ultimately, if so able to, that would have the an agency or have a number which council could then sell it through the CIC.
So you said it's $15,000 to improve it. What do you think the land's worth?
I don't know, but right now it's worth for us to not fix it unless we got a plan for it to use it. So we've got on our engineering plans to fix the neighboring parking lot. That's the one behind the church.
The crosshatched area here.
Yeah, is what is currently being fixed, and I don't know that we have the appetite to fix that property as well.
So the entire crosshatch area there on the bottom part of the map, that's all city property. And the only church lot that they technically, I know they use it, the only church lot that they have is the area to the north of the church. That small area is their only parking that they own, correct?
Yeah, so they have they're very interested in having some private parking, not just be beholden to the city parking.
I see, okay.
Okay. Any questions? Any more questions? Okay.
Now I'd ask you to go into executive if you want to go into the other two parcels.
All right. I'll make a motion to go into executive session this evening to consider the sale of real property where the disclosure of information may give a competitive advantage to another.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call?
Yes.
Okay. Hines?
Yes, here.
Stuckmeyer?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
We are in executive session.
for the legislation. Make a motion for the, to move forward with the purchase there of the Weber Drive property, the recommendation for the,
The sale of the Weber
Sale,
Drive, right?
mhm.
Sure.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Talk about that tomorrow. Okay, moving into miscellaneous.
Okay, Dora's been about a year old, so I wanted to follow up with everybody to see if there's any major problems from anybody that I haven't heard. I've never heard a problem yet, but I talked to the police chief, talked to the old police chief, talked to the service director, or safety director, and from the safety standpoint, as for increased crime, there's been no reported incidences at all from any alcohol-related problems that can be attributed to the Dora, so that's certainly good news on that. The only issue I've seen occasionally is sometimes there's trash, but usually it's accompanied with 4th of July. So it's not just door cups filling up the place, it's everything else filling up the place with a few door cups in there. So been a success by every metric that I've been able to see, and I haven't heard any down point of it.
Okay.
Any questions on Dora? It's particularly loved by the providers that do it. You know, it only marginally helps those businesses. It does help businesses, but only on the margins. But it really helps them during major events like the parade, 4th of July, First Fridays, Taste of Wadsworth. They really get a boost to their bottom line for alcohol sales during those times.
Very good.
Next thing up was Pacer, some numbers from that. Most of you, I know Tom's aware of it, but some of you may not be aware of it. Pacer is a computer program that is that Main Street Wadsworth is a member of, that has a right to use. And what they do is they can estimate numbers based on cell phone use during specific periods of time. This gives us a chance to quantify some things that we see, and we can put some numbers to it to see if it is actually true. Wanted to give you a couple of those numbers just so that you can start hearing them and start trying to make some sense out of it. This is for the June report. There was approximately 100,000 people, individuals, that went downtown Wadsworth in the month of June. In the June 1st Friday, there was about 6,000 visitors, and on the parade, we had about 6,500 people watching it. I've been lying about that for years, saying it's 20,000, so forgive me. They can also measure them in relation to other events, so they took the blue tip from this year and they measured it against last year. They have the ability to retroactively look at those things. They showed the First Fridays has about 1,000 more than they had last year, and the Blue Tip Parade has additional 500 individuals on it. It can tell you things like where they're coming from. 45% of the visitors downtown are from Wadsworth. The next largest was Barberton, 8%. Then Rittman, 5%, and Medina made their way down here. That was 4%. The Pocket Park had about 4,500 people who visited it in June. So this gives us an ability to understand what is being used, what is economic drivers, and what is not being used, and is it trending up or trending down. So I just wanted to pass that along to you, those notes.
And the one thing that's with those numbers too, you'll see a 4,000 number out there. That software takes out the background noise, so people that are downtown every day aren't in those figures. Those are truly numbers that they found of people that have come downtown during that time. None of us in the room are probably in that because we're here every day. So again, that takes out that typical with the 2,000 to 3,000 that are down here every day. So those are they try to be pretty true numbers to event for the events.
Just like to make a comment that Barberton number also includes Norton because they share the same zip code, 44203.
Makes a lot of sense.
So you're getting those numbers from the software license that Main Street Wadsworth has?
Yes, I requested from Megan Harvey those numbers, and she's filling me in when she gets those. They're just starting that process. I think they're getting a new computer so that they can have an ability to get those numbers out there. But yeah, we're going to still work with those numbers and try to give you some reference points.
What's the accuracy? I mean, Is it pretty accurate?
Well, they're pinging cell phones, so I guess
They're
if a
pinging-
lot of people come without cell phones, we're not going to capture those, but most people have cell phones.
Sure.
There are some estimates in there as far as, I mean, it is a guess on children without cell phones, you know, somebody that's, you know, little kids or something like that, they'll do the 2.3 average or whatever if the parents have a lot of Disney apps on their phone, you know, they figure they're going to have kids. So there's some of those analytics in there that where they're not super hard numbers, but if anything, they're a tad on the low side because some of the children that are with the families may not be in those numbers.
And if you look at like the Blue Tip Parade, you go 3 feet on each side, you're not capturing everybody watching it because they're watching it from their porches
Sure.
and back. So we're tinkering and trying to assist her in tinkering those numbers to get them as accurate as possible.
It's interesting too.
It is interesting.
Last thing I had was certified government. I talked about it, and I just like to put a bookend on some of these things. When we talk about certified government, it was in relation to the historic designation. We've got the historic designation downtown Wadsworth, and then they kind of push you, or they say, hey, we've got grant money if you become a certified government as part of that. Once I started down the rabbit hole of looking at what that means, it kind of came to as an antithesis of things I was telling people. What I was telling people is, you can do whatever you want with your property. We're not stopping it. But if you want to be involved in the historic tax credits, then you're going to have to play by certain rules. What a certified government does is it says, no, you can't do what you want with your property unless you go through this layer of bureaucracy. It's not what we promised anybody. So at this point, I said, I'm not in favor, unless you're telling me you'd like to look at it, of creating an agency that would prevent people from enlarging, destroying, or renovating their property without first going through this agency, because that's what it does.
And this would have been throughout the entire city, and it could be like island properties as well. It didn't have to be contiguous to downtown. It could have been one property up on Woodland or something like that as well, too.
Yeah, if we take the big one, like, so the CIS, when the converting it into something new, every time they would try to convert it or add something to OJ Work or to the building, they would have this layer. They would have to go in front of the 7-person body and say, okay, we're okay with that, or we're not okay with that. So it might be perfectly good in terms of the advice they're getting, but it can slow it down, and there's property rights issues. It just wasn't what I was telling people that was. So before I would do anything like that, I certainly wanted to let you know. So I kind of put that on the back burner. It didn't seem like the juice was worth the squeeze on that, but that's what it is.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No.
Nope.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Yep.
We'll go ahead and move into planning and zoning.
Okay, I'm going to go through this rather quickly. A couple of zoning amendments that either will or are before you, council. First is some updates to the public rental storage facilities sections. I think that ordinance is on your agenda. I don't know if the public hearing's been set. I know the ordinance is like 18 pages, so you got a summary of the 4 pages. What the existing text says and what the changes are. To help you from having to go through all of that. But basically, again, we have the moratorium, which is expiring, I think, here in August. I think we can let it go at this point. We didn't really prohibit these uses, but we just tried to get the code in a more logical format, come up with, here are some general requirements for all storage type uses. Tried to take out a lot of the specifics that didn't make sense, such as the prohibition on how large buildings could be, or what was the minimum driveway length, and why did traffic have to be one way. So we've made a few changes, but also tried to address a few other things. Again, we still have certain uses and activities that are prohibited. Those we put them in their own separate paragraph to make them easy to find. Added some additional site design requirements, and those are mainly for the visual impacts, trying to limit light output, also to provide landscape buffering when we're close to residential zones, and also to design it so that what we're looking at maybe is buildings and not necessarily activity areas. Another thing that came up that we wanted to address is outdoor storage. Typically, it's not permitted, but there is a large growing demand for the storage of RVs, boats, that type of thing. So probably should have some regulations to codify that. And this adds that allowance into the storage facility regulations. But the vehicles, can't exceed a certain height, and the storage spaces have to be either behind the existing buildings or behind some type of screening. And for instance, I'm thinking the axle rod. They've got that one screen up there, and they keep some of the vehicles behind it. If something to just kind of keep that, those things out of visual sight. And then another thing that's come up, and will probably continue, is should there be some regulations regarding the conversion of existing structures to storage uses. I know there's one that's already taken place up in the Great Oaks Plaza. And so we've tried to kind of codify what you would need to do. And again, most of those types of things are for indoor storage. You don't really notice anything from the exterior, but we want to make sure that existing fire lanes and the loading and unloading zones are not conflicting with each other, and that any improvements have to comply with the building and Ohio fire codes. So that's just kind of a quick summary. And I know the way they do the ordinance is, it's hard to distill that from the whole 18 pages. Basically, the changes take place in section 154.545 and to 154.546, paragraph B32. So I don't know if there's any questions or comments, or just keep that in mind for the upcoming hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you're going to do a presentation of that hearing?
Yeah, I'll just kind of quickly go through it.
Okay.
again.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is the actual mapping of a transitional mixed-use zoning district. Back in February, you adopted the regulations that created the district text, what's allowable, what's not. So the next step would be, where would this go on the map? And so the first TMU district that's being proposed consists of about 11.2 acres of properties. All of them are currently zoned C1 commercial, and they are all kind of to the northeast of downtown. They're basically between east side of High Street and the west side of North Lyman Street. Total number of properties, again, 35 acres. And again, some benefits there is that the current C1 district, one, is not a good fit for the size of the properties. Also, it's not a good fit in terms of what uses are allowable. Under this, the TMU, we can still have, it protects and recognizes all of those residential uses, but allows for smaller scale, non-residential conversions. So we get uses that are similar in scale and nature to what we've got downtown. Because again, this is adjacent to downtown, it is a more pedestrian-oriented, more walkable neighborhood. So I think this will be put, I think it's on the agenda for tomorrow to get it on council's agenda to set the public hearing.
Now, will there be, after this, any of the other, anything, west of High Street, or would be other areas to look at after this initial?
But we wanted to get this started. This one seemed to be the cleanest because all of the properties are within one zoning district. They're already, there's a fair amount of already non-residential uses in terms of the churches and some of the smaller businesses. So this one seemed to be one that would create the least amount of problems.
Okay.
I'm sorry. This is mainly Lyman?
Yeah.
North Lyman?
That's,
Okay.
there's, yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So all of North Lyman and the properties on the east side are included
Yeah.
in that district.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
okay?
Perfect.
All right. One other thing, and next would be a zoning map update. I'm going to give you copies of
Okay.
that. That's what the zoning code has to say about the zoning map and talking with Tom. It's like, well, who maintains the zoning map and how often is it updated? And it's like, well, here's what the zoning code says. And found out that, again, this language is pretty old. It came from 1965. I don't think it's been updated since. So what we would like to do, I'll be working with Planning Commission to kind of rewrite this section. Today, I think the official zoning map would be kept by the engineering department in digital format. And it's updated constantly whenever we get annexations and subsequent zoning amendments. But I think what we'd also like to do is perhaps once a year, like what we do with the changes to the codified ordinances that get published online, to have just a blanket ordinance, maybe every January, adopting a new zoning map that takes into consideration all of the changes that took place in the previous year. So I suggested, we want to have that ordinance, but I don't think right now. I think what we want to do is just take care of this language and then get this section of the zoning code updated at the same time we do the, first official zoning map update.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other big problem we found with this is right now it says the official zoning map should be kept at a scale of 1 to 200. That map would probably fill this room. So I think moving it to digital format and working with our GIS specialist in engineering, we've got a lot of the changes up to date. There's a few small ones we need to tweak. But we can also add to that map the various layers. So we could put on overlay districts, but we'd have a base map that's updated constantly with other features that people can turn on and off as necessary if they want to look at their property or surroundings. So we'll keep this moving. I'll keep that on the agenda.
Okay.
And then last, the comprehensive plan update. I don't think we have a lot of time. I'm leaving it on the agenda, but I know talking to Mr. Davis, engineering is going to be starting some transportation plan and some infrastructure plan updates. Those tie in well with updating the comprehensive plan in 2026. So we talked about some of the things that we wanted to see in there and whether we wanted to do a full-blown overview or really just function on key areas where growth can be anticipated. It's probably the better route to go and base that on where we see transportation and infrastructure improvements taking place.
And we'll have that information from him of what he'll need prior to budget season later this fall, correct?
Yeah, I hope so.
If we're going to do something next year, obviously we'll need that, but I'm just...
Right. Yeah, I just had space with him briefly, and I think there will be a kickoff coming up in the next 15 to 30 days to get, I think, the infrastructure plan moving. But I think that'll come into play once we've got an idea of where it's likely to have that infrastructure expansion. That's where your growth is going to occur. So what do we want to see there?
Concentrate there. Okay.
Okay. We'll go ahead and move into engineering, and I think Mr. Morse is going to take that.
Yeah, I'll take that. This is the favorite part. This is why are they moving dirt and where are they? So this is the questions you all get. What's coming in, what's going on over there. So we like to keep you informed of the construction and any new businesses that are coming online. So the intermediate school, we've been working with them to make sure that we can allow them it looks like they're on schedule to open every part but the auditorium or the performing arts portion. So there's construction issues that we're dealing with that, but they look like they're on track to get it done. Whitlam Paints just did a nice size expansion of their facility. That's almost done. We had Gasser Builders. They're doing the West Street, so all those that road that's going into West Street. That is for 11 single-family homes. That's what's going on there. Powell Gymnasium is on Corporate Parkway. It looks like it's got some walls, but doesn't have a roof yet, but it's on its way. Primrose is under construction. Laverne, Advanced Plastics has started their expansion. Wadsworth Family Dental has begun their construction. And Salvation Army hasn't move too much dirt, but at least they've started the process. So all of those are on that part. As for new businesses that are coming in, the Rite Aid, we've had some discussions, very positive discussions. It looks like we got a new tenant. We can't give it up yet. It's a little early for that, but it looks like a new tenant is ready to come in there. That'll be an incredible improvement over the current state it's in. Sonnets looks like it's finally opening. It is having in a soft opening now, but I believe very soon they're going to start full opening. And then we had a new business that just came in under in the Premier building up in North Part, Kovacs old building. That is a Roto-Rooter dispatch center. The mayor was there, told me about it. She was very impressed by it. It looks like it's got 30 employees with a hope to nearly double that level. That I think they've purchased the whole building. So they got the entire basement as part of their production. So it's a new business here in town that could have gone anywhere and decided to come here to Wadsworth. So we're really excited about that.
Very
questions?
good. No.
Sounds good.
Okay, with that, our next meeting is August 11th, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We are adjourned.
Shotgunning that closing hours, you know, clearance.
I just saw this thing, I gotta look somewhere like
Didn't have any time.
staging plan. The crossing.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.